Picture it, 1986.
Okay.
You're on the set of Psycho Girls.
Okay.
Does the thought ever cross your mind that in 40 years you'll be talking to two complete nerds like us about it?
Welcome back to Bottom of the Barrel.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Ben. And today we have a special episode for you. For the first time ever, Jeff and I are interviewing someone who worked on one of the movies that we've covered.
We're joined by Michael A. Miranda. He's a Canadian actor who has been active in the movie and television industry for 40 years. He played Kazma in one of my favorite movies of all time, Psycho Girls. Michael, would you like to give the audience a little background on yourself?
Sure. I'm Michael. I've been as was mentioned, for just over 40 years. I live in Toronto. I've spent most of my career here in Toronto with a few years, about 5-6 years, spent in the States in New York. I was living in Jersey and Manhattan, and sort of riding the wave of whatever this industry throws you over the last 40 years. It's been lean, it's been fat, it's been everything in between. And I'm still here. you know.
You know what's crazy? Growing up in Canada, I looked through your IMDb, and your IMDb is a who's who list of television programs that Canadian kids, or a kid, I'm almost 50,
Sure.
that Canadians who are almost 50 grew up with. You've been on every show. You've been
I
on Mutant X. You've been on.
I know. It's you sort of you see what's come to Canada shooting, whether it's and basically it's the American industry has essentially sort of kept me alive. It's where I've worked most. I mean, the whole Canadian industry is a whole other conversation. But I'm very grateful to the American industry that's come up and allowed me to work. But you do your work as an actor and you see, okay, so what's shooting, what's coming, who's casting, is it urban, is it rural, is it crime, is it a procedural, and you try and figure out where you might fit in. There have been some of those anomalies that you're going, man, this is a gritty urban crime series, and you're going, it's been running for 5 years. I can't get an audition. You scratch your head, but you're going, nothing I can do about it. So I have been fortunate enough for the things that roll through that I've been happy enough to be a part of.
So Jeff was amazed to find out that we have a Little Italy in Toronto. Can you tell us a little bit about life in Little Italy growing up?
Sure. Now, here's, as I get older, I think to myself, have I been deluding myself in terms of Little Italy? So I grew up in Little Italy. Now, there are two Little Italys, basically, in Toronto. There's the one at Dufferin and St. Clair, which I grew up in. And then there's the one that's sort of, College and Clinton, which is a little, like 20 minutes south of Dufferin and St. Clair. And it was one of those, no, we're Italy number one. No, we're Italy number one. And I think I finally have to, do a Charlton Heston from my cold, dead hands and realize that the Little Italy at sort of College and Clinton, they're really number one, because that, as the city grows and pulses outward, more communities are grown. Now, all that to say, and I haven't done the deep dive, but the reason my parents went to Dufferin and St. Clair, was that was their polity. That was where the Campania region, the south of Rome, Naples, and that region, that province, that area, because then they'd go to their own people, because that's another thing. The Italians are very tribal. People go, yes, so you're Italian? Yes, but technically I'm Neapolitan. So, but it was a great neighborhood. I have wonderful memories. School was close. Shopping was close.
Mhm.
Neighbors were great. We were a community, and even when the face of the neighborhood, sort of changed many, many, many years later, because that's basically the only house that I'd ever known.
Yeah.
Born in 1960, had to sell it because my mom, got ill and then passed away, and had to sell it in 2014. So it's the only house I'd ever known, and I'd seen the demographic change, and every time it changed and reintegrated, re-assimilated, it was still a wonderful neighborhood, and I have some great memories of, of the people, of the events, of the church. I was an altar boy. I was never forced to be one. I thought it was kind of cool. I quit I quit because I was even a lazy little kid back then. Where it was like a high mass. I mean, I gotta show up. I'm under the accolades. I got more responsibility. Let me just pass you the wine and ring the bell. Thankfully, my parents, very liberal, very progressive people. They weren't like filled with shame and guilt. My son quit, being an altar boy. They just sort of said, "So you don't want to be an altar boy anymore?" I said, "No, I got other interests now." Okay.
Yeah.
So a wonderful place, a wonderful place.
Now, did your Little Italy ever rumble with the other Little Italy in the 60s and 70s? Your Dukes up and go fight.
I gotta tell you, I didn't, know of the other Little Italy until I guess I would have had to have been 12, 13, 14, where we went, I'm sorry, my memory bank is like,
Okay.
oh no, I think it was middle school. I needed a bag for my books. That when nobody was carrying bags for books, and so he took me to College Street, and I thought I went, it's a whole other world down here. It was recognizable and the Italians and all that, but it was that experience, and then really not being reintroduced to it till, I don't know, 1920, almost because I guess there was no need. I think what happened is I was of legal drinking age. I was of legal waitering age. Now
Okay.
I didn't become a waiter down there, but I did drink and eat and have fun down there. And I went, okay, as I did on my own Little Italy strip,
hmm Now, if our voices sound a little scratchy, Michael's and mine, it's because we are in Toronto and there is forest fire smoke out there. So, just to let people know, give them a little peek behind the curtain about why we might be a little bit scratchy today.
I need a voice audition now. That's all I need, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How does it affect your singing when there's forest fire smoke, Jeff? Or do you guys get it down there at all?
Well, I smoke so many cigars that it's like a forest fire in my mouth every day. So
All right. So it's
it
conditioned.
doesn't really change anything.
Michael,
Yes.
how did Psycho Girls come about? That's what we're here to talk about anyway. Psycho Girls, the movie from 1986. How did you get involved in that?
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'll try and do some editing. So, Jerry Chickaritti and I, to say we went to high school together isn't quite right. I was in grade 9, and Jeff, just so that you know, back then we had grade 13.
Yeah.
And so I was in grade 9. Jerry was in grade 13, and he was vice president of the Boys Athletic Association. I saw him speak in assembly, and I thought, this is a really cool fucking guy. Like, I like this guy. I'm going, okay. All I knew is he was a cool guy. Now, what happened is that I ended up taking dramatic arts in high school, and now knew that Jerry's youngest sister was in a year behind me in high school, and we ended up actually dating for a while, not very long. We remained better friends than we ever were, a dating couple. She was wonderful, all that. But that's how I sort of got to know Jerry. And so there were social events while I was, in high school, and I sort of not often. That's great. And so I am now. So we jump ahead. I'm finished high school. I am now in theater school, and I'm in downtown. A downtown theater school. It was called Ryerson. At the time, it's changed to a really stupid name.
Isn't it called Ryerson any longer? I
No,
didn't know
it's
that.
called what's it called? Toronto Metropolitan University. One of the safest names you can get.
Yeah, my dad taught at Ryerson for a while. That's
Oh,
weird.
did you?
Yeah.
So it was, I was in theater school, and I was living considered right downtown. And I used to, I loved to jog. So I was jogging, and I'd, I was just finishing the jog, and I saw Jerry walking with what was to become another mutual friend who was in high school, became an incredible poet, teacher, writer. And so, I'm like, I'm finishing the run. I tap him on the back, and I go, hey, it's not like we're strangers. We know each other.
Mhm.
How's it going? But, our lives diverge. And I said, what do you guys do? And I said, I'm living like right around the corner. I was subletting an apartment at Spadina and Bloor. I said, why don't you guys come in for a cocktail? So I went in for a cocktail, and he's like, hey, so like, what are you doing, with your life? And now in grade 13, well, I was taking dramatic arts in high school, grade 11, 12, and 13. And I already knew back then, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to be pursuing this. It was a wonderful epiphany to have. And so, but Jerry didn't know that. It's like, I knew you went to theater arts. But I said, I'm finishing up theater school. I'm training, I'm doing my acting training performance. And that's when he said, oh man, like I'm directing. Now I always knew he was a director.
Mhm.
And basically said, so I'm doing something, I'd love to have you on it. I think I'm pretty sure I even auditioned, and it didn't happen until like 86.
Mhm.
You shoot something in 86, that means you've been working on it for at least a year, trying to get something done. And, so I was involved, on some level with auditions and what was going on. Then he just said, it's a go. It was my first film, and they had no money, shot in 11 days. They said, like, we can't pay you, but we're going to we want to offer you like a deferred contract when we sell this film, and like, we want to pay you. It was totally up and up. And actually, it was the only film, and I did a few of them, that were deferred payment. And I never saw any money, but I remember, I think 6 months after we finished the filming, he gave me a call and he said, so we got your money. So I went down to pick it up. And I think basically from that movie, working together, really, we just became friends that, as of yesterday, we still talk. We've been lifelong friends since then. We haven't, worked together in a number of years. Shit happens in this industry, but I'm really blessed to call him a dear friend, a brother. We were at each other's weddings. We were best men at each other's weddings. And so, and it came about. I went, I'm just here for the ride. I'm like right out of theater school. I have no film training other than the silly classes, the film and television classes.
Yeah.
They thought they were doing well at giving us in theater school. But just as a sort of a pin in that, because I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And when I saw the film, I went, man, I think that's some of the freest, best work I've ever done. Because, when you don't know the technicalities, or you go, no, that's my key light. Oh, I've got to talk softly here. I just was totally free. And I shot it in 11. I was on it for 6 and had like a total blast for 6 days.
I have a question about the dialogue. Was it mostly scripted what you were performing, or was it mostly improv?
The knife scene. I've seen a snail crossing. I'm butchering Brando's Apocalypse now. I've seen the snail cross walk along this razor and live. That whole scene, that was total improv.
That's what we thought. Yeah.
That was total improv. And Giorgio, forgive me, his character's name.
Aldo.
Aldo, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. He wasn't an actor at all. He was a dear friend of Jerry's, and he not long after that, he became part of the Order of the Franciscan Monks. He was the poet laureate of Toronto. He was a very learned, wise, opinionated, great guy. And so we just, riffed off each other, had a great time. I'm very grateful that Jerry just sort of trusted me and sort of like let me go, and I'd like to just add this before I forget, because there's a bit of a, we shot in the insane asylum. Well, the nut house, I know none of this is PC. I apologize. Out in Lakeshore West, and it was some of the most beautiful grounds in Toronto you'd seen in years, right? And this is back in the 80s, right? Toronto was a lot smaller. And so it's also where a lot of productions would shoot some of their stuff.
Yep.
And actually there was a show, Sonny Grosso's Top Cops was shot there. But I believe we were almost kind of like the first people there. And so the building we were in, I don't think we realized the building we were in. But sorry, I forgot that. Every once in a while you'd go up for a smoke break and you'd see somebody wandering, because I do believe some of it was still in use. And so you're going, okay. And if I'm wrong, then these people were wandering where they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think it was the institution was transitioning out of the care there and started to become much more sophisticated. But it was one day Jerry had, come up to me. I don't know, we're having lunch or something, and he said, we've been sort of digging around some of the rooms here. He was very tentative, very apprehensive about talking about it, but he said, so we found this room. And I said, yeah. And he said, that's okay if you don't want to. He said, but we found the morgue. Like we didn't know he said, we found the morgue. And he said, now we'll like fucking clean it up, like spotless and, everything. And I went, oh, are you kidding? Oh, we got to do this. And he was just like kid in a candy store. I said, you got to show me like right now before we clean it up. And so, you see the porcelain slab table, and you're, because when it was the sliding, the sliding morgue slabs, as opposed to the vertical one, you know what I mean? You see the movie,
I know what you mean.
You open it up and I slide out, and I immediately said, oh, Jer, I gotta pop out of one of these, man. He said, oh yeah. So
that was where we first saw you.
Yes. He said that would be a great introduction. And speaking of, I believe that was improv as well. There was much that was scripted, but I think because of Jerry being Jerry, that Jerry. Listen, if you could come up with something that was better than what he wrote, he had no ego. He said, we're going to do that. And the collaborations that I've had with Jerry, which quite frankly, I think it's either, since then we've worked 22 or 23 times together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's never changed his MO when it came to, what do you got? You got something? If something wasn't working for me, I old school actor, not tell me what to do and tell me how to say it, but honoring the script, honoring the director, and but he also taught me that there was a good breeding ground to sort of take some ownership. If you thought you had a good idea, you're not just a puppet, So I was grateful for that because it happened. Unless we're doing, something for a national network where it's scripted, I still think he allowed me to slip in some things here and there just to have a little fun.
I had a question regarding your character and what, with Kazma. Did Freddie Mercury serve as an inspiration?
I'll tell you, I think, I mean, as a young 26-year-old, I think I had moxie and, enough ego and balls and stuff like that. But, I got to tell you, I think I've been charmingly stupid sometimes all my life. But because what happened was, we had like a full page article in the entertainment section of the Globe and Mail.
Yeah.
Which I believe was the only reason it was the Globe and Mail, because that's a political, it's not the Toronto, liberal newspaper. This is, you go to find out your politics and your finance and sort of the higher brow, right center stuff. But that's because John Haslett Cuff was a writer, freelance writer for the Globe and Mail.
That's the guy that played the detective, or that played the raider in the movie.
That's right. Yeah. And so it came out, and so there's a shot of me sort of on the slab table. The first shot you see me when I'm introduced, right, in the film. And my hair's greased back, and I got my mustache, and I went, oh my God. Up until that moment, and just, when you reached out to me, and
Yeah.
I saw what you sent me, you
Yeah.
know, and I went Freddie Mercury, and I went, yeah, man, I remember that. So I'm glad you brought that up because I went, man, I didn't know it was Freddie Mercury until I saw it. I went, oh my God, I'm a like Freddie Mercury look alike, and
Yeah.
I think at the time I also, when I saw that, and I agree with you, the old Freddie Mercury, I went, I'm going to say a little bit of Mini Magnum as well, because right,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that was my own wish, but
Yeah.
definitely the Freddie Mercury look, and I went, well, that's all right.
I think that your Kazma was the inspiration for Jeff's mustache too.
It could be. It could be. I didn't start it until a couple weeks ago.
Now, another interest, well, also with the eye makeup, that also lent to the Freddie Mercury thing.
Mhm.
Sure.
But I got to tell you, if you go on Letterboxd and look at Psycho Girls, there are hundreds of reviews where they'll be like, why would Freddie Mercury do this? Like, why would he hurt why
Really?
would he hurt this woman? Yeah, yeah, they're goofing, but yeah, it's funny. I got to tell you though, your body in that movie, holy crap, you're cut, dude.
Not bad, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad. But I was a high school athlete. I was a city champion wrestler, city in Ontario champion rugby player.
Wow.
Love to run. It was the first and only one. It was 1981. I ran a marathon.
Wow.
Believe me, I've gone downhill ever since.
And
COVID killed me. I think just before COVID was the last time I was in a formal gym.
mhm.
Yeah,
But
rugby's
thank
no
you,
joke either.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
have to thank my dad. I'm not as cut anymore, but I still got the same fighting weight. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
I can't gain weight to save my life. I guess that's okay as I get older. You know.
Yeah, that's good. Rugby's no joke either. I played rugby in grade 9 and 10, and
Right.
you are constantly running in rugby. It's
Oh
not like
yeah.
football. I played football too. Football, you run for 3 minutes at a time, and then you get
Right.
to have a smoke break.
Yeah.
But rugby is no joke. You're running the entire time.
Well, it
Oh
was
my God.
because it was funny. Here's the life of youth. I was a smoker, but when wrestling season started or rugby season started, that's it. I'm done. I just not smoke.
Yeah,
The season would
Wow.
be over. I go, okay. You're going,
yeah.
what?
I'll
Why
tell
would
you
you do
something.
that?
Here's a story that I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying, but when I was in grade 13, because I had grade 13 as well, senior football, I was on the O line. It was the first year that we had enough players that we could have an O line and a D line. So I was on the O line. When the defense was on, I'd be standing at the side with the cheerleaders having a cigarette in the middle of the game, you know? And the coaches didn't yell at us or anything. It certainly didn't look good, but that's what we did.
I know it's bizarre when you think it, you almost, I want to do like, the old man where you're going, as it should be,
Yeah.
you're going, and you think about how inane it all was going, yeah, I used to sit in the back 10 rows of the theater and smoke. I went to the theater to watch the movie. I didn't go to neck with my girlfriend. We watched, smoking and going. Then there's that magic invisible line on the airplane where you're where you're going smoking and going.
We talked about that in our episode that's going up tomorrow, where the rules are what's going to keep the smoke out.
Yeah, the diner that me and my friends would go to late 90s when I was like at the tail end of high school. It was just the diner was one room and there was about a 4 foot partition in the middle.
Yeah.
And that one side was smoking and the other side was non. So you
No,
could be sitting right next to that partition and the person right next to you on the other side is blowing smoke right in your face.
yeah, the smoke, the smoke was very disrespectful or respectful, depending on how you want to tell it. Going, you're not allowed to cross this line, smoke. Yeah, going,
Yeah.
yeah, got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Stupid human tricks, I guess.
Yeah.
Some of the Tim Hortons in the mid 90s had an actual glass box that you'd go into. and that would be the smoking area in Oakville anyway.
I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't doubt it. I'm kind of going, well, that's too bad. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
You'd
You
come
know,
out of there and your hair would be all frizzy and your eyes would be red because everybody in there was just smoking. But yeah, it was a glass box and that was the smoking zone.
but but it was everywhere. You could be in the bank line and
Yeah.
smoke, and you're
Mhm.
going, wow, and it didn't mean. Listen, uh, my father, stopped smoking 30 years before he died of lung cancer,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that fucker used to like eat them. That's what he
Yeah.
used to say to me. He used to say to me after he quit. He says, "I don't know why you bothered lighting them. Why don't you just eat them?" Right? 'Cause he just, you know, row your boat with smokes.
Now, Jeff, did you want to ask about the butcher stuff?
This is such a bizarre question. I guarantee you, no one who's ever talked to you about this movie has ever asked you this question.
Okay, go for it.
So I worked as a butcher for a long time,
Okay.
and I was wondering if anyone on in the crew was trained as a butcher because the scene where the human skull is being carved
Yes.
is 100% accurate as to the way you would scythe meat off of a bone.
No shit, eh?
Yeah,
Well, you know what? I wish I had an answer for you.
I didn't think you would.
But it'd be the kind of thing that somebody's uncle would have been a butcher.
Yeah.
And as a kid, he learned, he watched his uncle or his dad or, the local. I wouldn't be surprised that could very well be the answer. But I'm sorry, I can't tell you that for certain. But
I
Okay.
was
I
not
hope,
expecting.
I hope you were impressed.
Yeah, I was.
We'll ask Robert too, because Robert might know if he was running the camera. He might know
Yeah, yeah.
who did it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um.
if
Yeah.
Robert doesn't remember to tell you, and maybe I'm like overstepping, but you know, I believe, and maybe I'm just remembering selectively. They may have had a dolly, but a lot of the dolly shots were was a wheelchair.
Oh, nice.
Oh. So, where did you guys find Darlene, who played Sarah Tusk? Like she's an iconic character in
I
this
know,
movie.
right?
She's
Yeah.
like transcendent. Yeah.
Darlene Maniaco.
Mhm.
I think I met her. I think I would have met her on the film. So I think she was somebody that Jerry had known, but also I'd met her, but because she was an actress, I knew of her. There weren't back then. There were enough of us. Excuse me, but it was a relatively small community of Italian actors and actresses. So you knew who each other might be, and you would just sort of sooner or later intersect on set, at a theater audition, or just sort of knowing of them and being introduced by a 6 degree of separation. So I recall that I didn't know of her, but was just thrilled to meet her and
Yeah.
work with her. You know.
Well, I'm glad that I now know how to pronounce that last name. I said it wrong before.
Mignacco, yeah, yeah, you know.
So do you know who was in charge of the puns? Because there's quite a few of them in this movie.
I don't. It could have been. Maybe you can help me out. It was the Michael Bachner. Michael, you know what? If I had to attribute any of the puns, it would have been to him. He had his own brand of humor. It was dry. It was quiet. So if I was a betting man, I would say that it would have been him. He was responsible for that. I'm sure Jerry might have had a couple in, but if I had to guess, I would guess Bachner was the guy who was into that.
And Jeff is a pun fanatic.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. I appreciated those very much. There's another question we've both been dying to ask,
Sure.
and I think this is going to be a twofold question.
Okay.
Whose idea was the sweaty sex scene, and what did you think of that?
Oh boy.
Well, you know, well, I would not have been part of those shooting days at all anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because what they, I think they shot that at someone's house. They might have shot the sweaty sex scene. Um, so Jerry and his girlfriend at the time lived. It was like a sixplex, 8 units. Very New York style apartments, very very cool apartments. But John Haslett Cuff lived next door.
Okay.
Two doors to a floor. Literally, you walk out. It's basically the distance in The Big Bang Theory, where that's how close they are.
Mhm.
So they may have shot that there. But I don't know where they shot it. But I did, I think I certainly hope they, that they were successful in making that so tongue in cheek. Like, I don't know about you, but I've seen this type of attempt with things like that, and I watch and I go, "Oh, you're taking yourself seriously." Like, no,
Yeah.
no. Like, that's wrong. Because I can't take it seriously. So I hope I'm guessing correctly if it ever comes down the pike where Jerry calls and says, "That was a totally serious scene." And I'm going, it shouldn't have been, Jerry. What can I say? We're tight enough where, if you don't hire me again, that's okay. We're both old. But, I got a good giggle out of it. Like, it was funny. The bodies were attractive. The sweat looked good. So it was, I didn't get to see it until sort of we saw the movie, and I went, so I think people enjoyed it because it was tongue in cheek. It really wasn't meant to, I mean, it was, I mean, I hope some of it came through. It wanted to be, and it strived to be a bit of that stylistic, sort of, it couldn't be, the original film noir, but some kind of evolution of film noir. The dialogue, it had that flavor to it, where he could have said, knew him? Yeah, I knew him. Saved my life. So I think that's basically the tone and the flavor of, that section of that kind of dialogue and what Jerry was striving for.
Is John Haslett Cuff Quebecois because he's got the exact same accent as a guy that I work with who is Quebecois?
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell. He did have quite an ego, though. He was he was a man's man.
Okay.
And I just kept thinking, take it easy, buddy. I just you can be yourself. That is yourself. Okay. Anyway, I'm not trying to shit on anybody. I don't think I saw him, but once or twice after we shot that, he was a decent guy. He was a character in himself. When he wasn't shooting the movie. So he was a nice guy.
Was the barber bit scripted?
No.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
That's awesome.
You know what? I'm not gonna. I like to jump in on that, but again, if there was, if there was any script, I'm hoping my memory serves correctly. It was just from here to there. We need to get from here to there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And how much time do we have to do it? Now, I guess because there wasn't a script coordinator going, this scene can only last 38 seconds. I do remember, though, when we shot it, and this is why I suspect it was a little more improv than scripted. It was the Toronto Blue Jays had just blown their chance of moving on, and I can't remember, to the World Series, but that was the end for them. That they'd blown the game, and the end of their chance to move on against the Kansas City Royals. So when I said, "Did you see the game last night?" The bums, a bunch of bums. I could have coached them better myself. Right now, and as I say it, I'm going, I guess I didn't know enough about baseball, because I did say I could have coached them better. Nobody coaches baseball.
Yeah.
I did catch that years later, going, okay, I made a mistake here. But I that's why I think we did just a shitload of improv that Jerry picked and chose, and I had fun. I think Jerry had fun too, and appreciated it. Just made his life easier. That went, I don't know what to say here. You got anything? Yeah, sure. Let me go. And
well, those kill scenes were some of the best parts of the whole movie. Those kill scenes down in that room with the Sigmund Freud altar.
I know.
That was one thing I loved about it so much, is there was so much shit in this movie that I just didn't see coming.
Right.
Whether it be the sweaty sex scene, or brief little musical parts with like Sarah down in the room there. It was just so much random shit that just came together so great.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, because you wouldn't know this. Can I tell you a quick little story of?
Sure.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm working, and I'm working at a bar downtown. It was what was a well-known Mexican restaurant, and I'm tending bar. And so I'm just going to the bathroom, and I walk past a couple, and I see they're looking at me, and I'm like, okay. I come back out of the bathroom, and the guy like stops me with his arm, and he recognizes me from Psycho Girls. And I said, excuse me, you're like in a hole in the wall on Yonge Street, the main strip of Toronto, Jeff, underground. And we've got a man and his girlfriend who recognized me from Psycho Girls, because, and he introduces himself. I'm Loris Curci. This is my girlfriend, Mary. We have seen all your films. And I'm thinking, that's three, right? He saw Psycho Girls, Graveyard Shift, and The Understudy Graveyard Shift 2, which, by the way, The Understudy Graveyard Shift 2 was a sequel without us knowing it. They shot it and then marketed it as a sequel. I went,
okay.
Oh, okay. But Loris Curci, he said, I have written a book about the slasher films, the best slasher films in the 80s. And I must tell you, Psycho Girls is Dario Argento's one of top 10 films that he loves.
Wow. And
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm a neophyte, but I knew who, Dario Argento was. And he says, I have written the book. May I send you a copy? And I said, of course. And it's like, well,
whoa,
that's,
nice.
That's the copy. It's all in, it's all in Italian. I don't even know if you can read it right ways or wrong ways. It looks wrong to me, but hopefully
it's right ways for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Right. And so it's got good reviews. Psycho Girls, Graveyard Shift 1 and 2, I even, we kept in touch for a while, and I even got Loris even sent me a copy for Jerry because he's like, so how are you? What are you shooting? How is Jerry Chicoliti? Is he doing more slasher films? Because, we can't wait. So that was I remembered the book and I thought, this might be a nice little thing to show you.
Did he ever do another slasher film after that, or was that it after Understudy?
Yeah,
No.
that was it. That was it. Of course, then again, now when there's nobody watching over you, Psycho Girls was do whatever the fuck we want with, no money money we don't have, and we even joked on the last day of shooting. We shot basically for 24 hours.
Wow.
And the joke was, hurry, we're losing the dark. Because the sun was coming up,
Yeah.
It was the scene where, where the last scene was where my head gets smashed in with a rock.
Yeah.
We had to get that done because we just couldn't shoot anymore. That was the end. So, I'm sorry, the question again,
I don't even. I think I just asked if he did any slasher films after Understudy.
No, he didn't. But I was saying
Yeah.
with now Graveyard Shift 1 and Graveyard Shift 2, there's now people backing it. There are more rules. Right. There's more scripted. Then there was very little room to improv, do some fun, and had to be written, had to come in at a certain time, and. So, but he didn't after that.
Here's another question for you.
Sure.
Aldo and John Hazlitt Cuff have a big fight in a room that's full of feathers. Were the feathers already there, or did you put the feathers there?
No, I believe they were put there.
Okay.
I believe they were put there. But and who knows? I could be lying. I like to think they did the right thing. And of course, you're thinking, well, if you didn't get them, why are a whole bunch of feathers there?
Yeah. So
that's where my brain's going. But the place was the place was a demolished shambles.
Yeah.
Where we shot. And shall I tell you about the SWAT team here?
Yes. Yes, please.
That was actually the next question on our itinerary.
I'd love to tell you about the SWAT team. So, so you've got a picture, just sort of a building in ruins. There's, I'm having a nap on a dusty, old, ugly couch that I probably shouldn't be having a nap on. Right. I think somebody found a sheet for me, by the way, for, a production that had no money, man, were we taken well care of. We were all, I got to tell you. So here I am looking like Freddy. I believe so. I already had, my smock on with blood all over it. It might have been spattered for continuity, all that. They weren't going to need me for a little bit. So I went, I'm going upstairs because basically there was a whole chunk that was shot downstairs, if not all 6 days downstairs and in the bowels. The running shots you see down the hall, that's all in the basement, corridors of the morgue building and, whatever they were using it for. So, I'm taking a nap. My nap's kind of over, but I'm like, I'm hearing something. Like, I shouldn't be hearing anything. Like, it's just us. It's not like Top Cops is in the next, half building on the other side of these shambled ruins of furniture and drywall and metal. It was like nobody cleaned it up, and nobody expected anybody to clean it up. For the production, it was like, it was a wonderful. I think it was, when working with Jerry, that's the only time I can go. There's a sense of family here. even on bigger productions, right? Everybody loves Jerry, everybody loves Raymond. It was all like that. So it was, and so I'm hearing something. Okay. And it's not like I'm freaking out. I'm hearing something. I'm like, they're shooting. I know they're shooting. No one should be up here. So, I'm just sort of like getting up, waking up, and I stand up and so if you picture the room I'm in, to exit the room, it's there weren't any, but if there were, there would have been the French sliding doors, just that. So we
Okay.
got a big opening, right?
Yeah.
And out of both sides of the opening, in comes like if I recall, there had to have been 6, 7 guys coming in with like guns like this because and I don't think they were doing that because they hurt anybody. They were already there. I don't think I made enough noise to that where they went, there was, there was nothing dangerous going on. They were just doing their exercises and their maneuvers.
Okay.
So, but when they fucking turned around, I don't know this. Right? As far as I'm concerned, there's like big guns, pointed at me. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything but holding up my hands and going, what do you guys, who are you guys? What are you doing? What are you doing? They go, what are you doing here? It's like a lot of yelling going on. And I said, we're shooting a movie downstairs. What are you doing? We're doing our exercises. And then everybody just, right? And it was just like, okay, I think we got a giggle out of it. I had to check my fucking pants, I think, to go, oh my God, what the hell happened there? And I don't suspect they were, they were armed, but they wouldn't have been loaded. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to think they're not
Yeah.
looking to go. So go in and start shooting. Their tactical
Yeah.
maneuvers.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't in the middle of the barber scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But so they go on their merry way, and I'm like still like I'm walking downstairs and going, Jerry, you're not going to believe what's going on. The fucking SWAT team. Michael, what's that like? Why does it go still? What's going on? It says the fucking SWAT team was like upstairs, and I was just taking a nap, man. And I was like, so we got quite the kick out of it, And in the end, I knew I was scared, but
Mhm.
I honestly, I'm not going to infuse it with my life with. I could have been killed. I don't think I could have been killed. It was just one of those. So I've used the line from from the movie State and Maine when Baldwin like flips over in a car accident, lands on his feet, and he goes, "So that happened." And I went,
Yeah.
okay, so that's my story. The making of what happened during the making of.
Yeah. So you went on to work on Graveyard Shift and Understudy, like we talked about. Unfortunately, well, Graveyard Shift you can see on Fossum TV in the States. So Jeff, you can watch it on Fossum. If you're a Canadian listener or watcher of the show, you can, if you have a VPN, you can set that to the States and then watch it. It doesn't seem to be streaming in Canada, which is fine, I suppose. But Understudy is lost to the VHS ages right now. It has not been ripped, as far as I can tell, or
No, I
re-released
don't
on
think it
DVD.
was.
Yeah. So that one's more of a troublesome one to get a hold of. But why don't you tell us a little bit about Central Park Drifter, aka Night Shift or Graveyard Shift?
Graveyard Shift, the
Yeah.
first one. Well, that sort of it's so it's so I don't know if it came on the back of some success because excuse me, the reason I ended up getting paid is because somebody bought the film for a good chunk of money and everybody made money. And so I don't know if it had any momentum after that and it caught the eye. Pardon me, gentlemen. But I think it's sort of, again, I was in on it. I knew it was supposed to happen. So that would have happened. So 86. So that would have, I think, happened in 88. I think, was that 88? The first,
I believe so, yeah.
first one was 88 or 87, 88. But soon after we shot that. And so it had that same kind of feel as the first one, with a budget, still, limited with that. But now it was, I've got to get fitted for fangs, go to the dentist to get the mold, wardrobe fittings, which, would have been standard. But I don't remember going to a wardrobe fitting for Psycho Girls. I showed up, they had shit, and they went, this has to work. But I'm getting fitted for stuff, and there's a read through, there's auditions. I didn't audition, but right. There were auditions to happen, and I was part of the auditions and going, oh, this is cool. So who's going to be in this? And I would know people, and I didn't know people. And so it was, I think it was just, it was thrilling, because I think for me, it's like, wow, nobody, I don't care what genre film it is. Who's going to give you the lead?
Yeah.
I mean, as an actor, I go, I can carry any film anytime. But you learn. But I guess I had, they were brass enough where I could go, it wasn't only till after I was given the lead. I was thrilled to have the lead, but I didn't know anything about it sort of film-wise, politically. And also, it's still, on some level, you could give it to me, because nobody was breathing down anybody's neck about numbers and demographics and all that. And I was kind of a right look for the vampire. Let's face it, let's not be stupid. And so, I was thrilled. We had fun. We felt a little more adult, a little more professional, and tried to, commit to a story, fulfill a story that was interesting, and Jerry's always, I think, tried to make stories, the personal stories, but the story, I don't think he's trying to tell his story about his life as a vampire, or how he knew one or anything. But, just to bring his open heart to the genre, the picture, no matter what the story would be, with an open heart. He just had some money to do it. So it felt, that makes it sound like there was, less integrous with Psycho Girls. But, it had a weight to it, more of a legitimacy, where some of the machine and the parts were now working for Jerry and Robert, and Michael, to go, yeah. So let's work hard. Let's make a story. I still remember. We worked like incredibly long hours. It was a low budget. I was not a union actor yet, so I was allowed to do it. There was no question. It's like, nobody cares. There's no union that cares that I'm doing this, because I'm not a union member. And so, it was just a great time, and, shooting the shit out of it a lot at night. Like we were working at night a lot, coming home and, can't lose the dark, coming home, starting all over again. I remember there was enough money in the budget where they had the Winnebago as the sort of the production office. But I remember, that I can't tell you. I honestly can't tell you how I got home after those days. Like I have the memory of where they they dropped me off my apartment building in this Winnebago at like 7 o'clock in the morning after working 24 hours. It was like, so there was money for Winnebago. I certainly had to go to my day job. I was working brunch in a few hours. Um, and I remember going to the subway from my apartment, walking through the parking lot, and went, I think I'm in trouble because I'm hallucinating and there's elephants in this parking lot.
Oh,
And so I managed to get it together. And I got to work and they quickly went, you need to go home. It's okay. Don't sweat it. We got you covered. But
Nice.
the whole
Mhm.
experience was just another one of those. We're all working together. We know what we have. There was a love and a loyalty to Jerry. He respected everyone who was willing to work there, to work with him, and he with them. He just he entrusted uh, everyone uh, to do their job, to do it well, because we knew it and we did. I think so. It was just it's just stepping up a little where you're going,
Mhm.
wow, I got a little money. I can make a quote unquote, better film, better lighting, better script, better, just I can flex a little. And I think he did that well.
And a lot of the people from Psycho Girls, a lot of the cast members came back for this one, didn't they? At least for the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And you know what? It was kind of it's an allegiance.
Mhm.
I, I've, if I think back, you know, the favors or the we don't have a lot of money films for the people that I've worked with. You would have hoped they'd come back to the well to go, thanks, man. And now, certainly, I don't ever want you to give me a role that you're going that I'll tell you. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm miscast. You know,
Mhm.
but Jerry would do that. Because he went, you worked for free, or I did. But it's also, hey, listen, I got nothing around it. It's like, if the technicians, the crew needed to get paid, pay them. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
business. It was business, and I was so young that it didn't occur to me. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't care. You can't pay me on deferment. You, Jer? Sure. Now, you know, I've met with, someone saw the vampire movies and wanted to, hire me, but he ended up being such full of shit because he was just pushing the. So it's like, you know, and because I'm doing my own business. I don't even know if
Mhm.
I have an agent. Or if I had an agent, it was like, listen, I'll send them your way if it's important to do that. But this guy was offering me sort of non-union daily wages as a weekly wage and
Mhm.
trying to sell it. Well, we're all family. And it's like, I don't fucking know who you are. Usually I know family. Some of them I don't want to know them anymore. But it was different that way. Jerry was up front. It wasn't we have money, but not for you. Uh,
Yeah.
we have no money, or we have money, but we have to allocate it here. It was totally transparent, and there was never from anyone, and I've never met anyone that hasn't worked for Jerry that wouldn't jump at a second chance. I've just been lucky to do that like 22 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I did review Hot Frosty.
I you know what? I didn't even know he did Hot Frosty. I have no idea
Yeah.
what that is. Sometimes, time passes and they're going, you
Yeah.
know, I haven't seen you for a couple of months. Oh, you shot something. Oh, of course you would have. You're a director. But Hot Frosty, I have no idea what that
Yeah.
is.
It was a big shocker for me. My wife got me to watch it. It was a Netflix rom-com, like a holiday rom-com. And I believe that it's with some of the people that he did Schitt's Creek with.
Okay.
So he's got some Schitt's Creek people in there, and it's about a snowman who is brought to life by the power of rom-coms, I guess, and then romances Lacey Chabert, and he's a
Oh,
he's a dumb guy because he's a snowman, right? He's got
right,
brains full of water.
right.
He's got no brains, but so she has to teach him first of all how to be a person, and then it was silly, but he got some star power behind it. Like he got Craig Ferguson and Joe Trulio from Brooklyn Nine-Nine in it, and he's got Lauren Holly is in it too. Like he's got some,
Oh shit, eh?
yeah.
Oh, I'm
And
gonna
it's
have to
just,
look that up. Yeah, I had no idea.
I think I gave it a 4, but
No, I think God bless Jerry. I
Mhm.
think sometimes I don't know what Jerry's doing
Yeah,
because he feels bad. He might not have anything for it in me in
yeah,
it
yeah.
for me. And I said, hey, you don't know me anything, man. Like if there's something, I'd love it. If there isn't, you know, I know you're not going. How do I figure out how to shut Michael Miranda out of? There's no, that's never happened. So, it might have been one of those rom-coms. Rom-coms, I got a funny friend, can't put him in.
Yeah. Jeff, Michael Bachner, who we were talking about with the puns, he is the father at the beginning of the movie who gets poisoned.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
I just looked it up.
Now, just so, but Michael Bachner's
Yeah.
father
Okay.
had some local fame, if not Canadian fame. He was in the film business. He brought like he might have even brought, and I'm sorry if I'm creating something,
Mhm.
if I'm saying he brought in, if he didn't bring European films, he brought independent films into some kind of view, visual in Canada. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sorry, but I just recalled that's Michael's pedigree from a father who was very much in love with film, and
Hmm.
so rubbed off on Michael.
Yeah. Now, other than Jerry, are you still in contact with any of the old Psycho Girls cast?
No, not
No.
no
Yeah.
no, not a one. There was a number of years that um, I saw. I would see Darlene quite often, actually,
Hmm.
um, at auditions. Um, and then I just stopped. I think then she took a different road. I think she went on to become a therapist, actually, a
Yeah.
psychotherapist.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's actually practicing still if you in Toronto right now. She's a practicing
well, good
psychotherapist.
to know she's still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
She just said, uh, you know, uh, uh, I don't know, every 5 years, like The Godfather. Every 5 years, every 10 years, we got to go to the mattresses. Every 5 years, every 10 years, there's a group that just decides for whatever reason, their own, respect it all, that they're not going to do this anymore. It's just, you know, not going to
Hmm.
happen. And so yeah, there was an energy around the film and making it, which we would encounter. I mean, I'd go to Jerry's apartment often, and I would see John Haslett Cuff because he
Hmm.
lived next door. I would see Darlene, but Giorgio I would see every once in a while. So, but no, there isn't. You know, and sometimes I think, geez, you know, the morbid, side of me going, anybody alive? Who's alive like now?
Yeah.
And so, the thought of that going, I don't know.
So I have in my notes here that you were nominated for an ACTRA Outstanding Performance Award for Lives of the Saints,
I was.
2006. That's not a question, that's a statement.
Yes, it is.
Way
I was
to,
what? How come nobody told me?
way to set me up for failure, Ben.
No, sorry, man. Yeah.
But the last little bit here we have is would like to talk about your pottery work at all.
The Lives of the Saints one, if I may, just for a moment.
Oh
There,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
that was an odd one too, because I was at I spent a year at York University, and I lived in residence, and Nino Ricci, the writer of the trilogy of books of Lives of the Saints, lived in the same college. We didn't know each other. He hadn't written any of these books, but when he did write the books, and I read them, and there was so the books had come out. There was an article on Nino Ricci and the producer who was interested in the books, and so I cut the page out of the Maclean's magazine. I put it in, and I said, and as I read the books, and it was a Canadian story, Canadian Italian story, and I said, if they ever make a fucking movie, I'm going to be in this movie. I don't know how, but I want to be in this movie. It came to light. It was going to be happening. Jerry's the kind of guy that, we all have our disappointments. I got a long list of, I'm supposed to be in it. It didn't go. You got close. It didn't go. So Jerry, rightfully so, rather than start going, we're going to make this movie, and it's going to happen. You're going to be in it. And then you're going, listen, bad news. You can't be in it, or the movie's not going to be made. So when he did say it was happening, it was going to happen. And he said, now we've got the character of the character I want you to play. He's an amalgam of a couple of characters in the book. And he was very apologetic. And he said, I'm afraid I'm going to have to make you audition, possibly. And he said, I'll try not to make you audition. And so I'll try and get you to step you up to a screen test. Meaning we're going to have some lighting, some makeup, we're going to take it seriously. He said, so if you're okay with that, I want you for this. I know you can do it. There's no question. But again, we always think, directors have final say. They actually have no say, especially if you're working on a TV series, you got nothing. You're hired, follow. So the way it went was Jerry's meeting with the executive, and they've got my picture, and they're talking back and forth, and he holds up my 8x10, and he says, I'm thinking of this guy for Uncle Alfredo. And she goes, oh, I know him. Yeah. And that was that. It was, yeah. And that was that. So that, the experience of spending 3 weeks with Sophia Loren was, it'll be one of the most memorable experiences of my film career, ever. But sorry, I can certainly move on to the pottery. A friend of mine years ago had suggested that she sort of saw my behavior. She said, your head's always too full of too much shit all the time. You're always buzzing in your head. That you got to try something, maybe put it in your hands, something in your hands. And I went, okay, that's a good idea. and I've always, tinkered with tools. I've always done something with my hands, but I've never built anything, or and I was a great assistant to anybody who wanted to, fix a car to put up drywall, but I'm never the leader. So I thought, you try this pottery thing. So it was I'd say it was a good decade before I started. I went to this storefront clay place, and I thought, let me see what this is about. I came to understand the owner and her bitterness, quite frankly, because she's trying to run a business. I went in for like an hour or two to see what it's all about, but she had such a terrible attitude, and like I said, I became forgiving of it, because I tried to be sort of sympathetic, to go, oh, you're running a business, this can't be easy, of course. But she turned me right off, and I went, all right, won't be doing that. And so for almost 10 years, I didn't do anything. It might have been a little less. And so the years pass, and I'm take my daughter to she's in school. I take her to grade school. I can't remember what grade she's in. 1, 2, 3, whatever it was. 2012. She was born in 5. She would have been 7 years old. So whatever fucking grade you're in at 7 years old, I don't know anymore. So I drop her off, and I see these showcases in the school, and it's just a grade school. And there's like kids pottery in it, but it's not just pottery. It's a style of pottery called raku, which is Japanese pottery. Now, long before I took that storefront class, I discovered raku pottery, and I would buy it. I have quite a extensive collection of raku pottery. And so I just collected it because I loved it. It was gorgeous pottery. So we skip ahead and we do that. And so I'm seeing these fucking raku pieces of pottery in the showcases, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And so I go to the office. I said, who made this pottery? She said, oh, the kids. There was like a week workshop during spring break or whatever, and it was like, where'd they go? Tell me where they went. I looked it up, and I've been going to the same studio since 2012. So, I wasn't taking it seriously. I was a bit of a lazy potter. I refused to look at videos. I should know how to do this. That's cheating, all that stuff. And then I started making stuff that was sort of not nice, and was like worthy of giving away as a gift. And people kind of liked it. Now, I didn't continue because of that, but I was like, oh, and so, I went on, and I went on to, I've only been able to do it like 3-4 times, where I've been part of groups where I'm like, I'm now making raku pottery. I love raku. And quite frankly, if that's all I was allowed to do, I would love to do that. I have the space in my own backyard. Fire department won't let me. City won't let me. Even though I could have all the best, smartest equipment. So, I've been going to the same place for 12 years. My teacher and mentor from that studio was working, Jeff, geographically, it's a city called Pickering. It's 35 minutes east of where I live. Okay. And so my teacher from the Cedar Ridge studio, which is where I started and still go, just so that I can be free as a potter. Got me a job as then I become a teacher. So the last 3 years I've been a pottery teacher. I have sort of I work for a city that has its own bullshit. I've been a freelancer all my life. I've done a shit ton of jobs, all kinds, but I've never worked for like an organization. Man, oh man, working for the city. You're going, oh my god, this is like, you know, just as a footnote, it's like we're catching people like stealing time and resources. Nobody, don't do a thing. They're just, you find out that HR is not there for the workers. But anyway, that's a digression, a bullshit digression. I love doing pottery. I teach people. The jump was, I know how to make pottery, but how do I teach it? So it was a wonderful way to, keep going. A different studio with, different glazes, different clay, different people. And so, I never dreamed that I'd actually consider myself good enough to be a teacher. But, I do okay. I do okay as a teacher. People, enjoy my class. It's kind of funny, though, because it's one of those, the pandemic. The pandemic did two things. It made people adopt a whole bunch of pets.
Mm-hmm.
And just as the dark side of them, I want to fucking kill every one of them when they went, these pets don't work for us anymore. We're not going to return them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm right there with you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You heartless bastards. These aren't toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. And pottery classes. Like they went through the roof. Everybody's taking a pottery class. It's, I like to, they're making commercials. Of course, it doesn't help then when I see, there was some series, I think it was called The Watcher. It was with Naomi Watts, I think. And she was a potter. Bobby Cannavale was her husband, but she was an incredible potter selling in the New York Gallery. And all I was doing was like Travis Bickle with the TV going, well, that's not a kiln. You can't do that. It's not printed. All your people are white, your gallery agent says, oh, we've sold out all your pieces. I want you to do another show next month. And I'm thinking, next month? You know how much it takes to make this shit? Raise it and fire it. It was like, so, I'm a bit of a nerd that way, where I'm, proprietary of, like what I do. It's the same as somebody saying, might as well be the same as somebody saying, well, the acting bug hit me, so I thought I'd be an actor. Okay. Good luck with that. You know what I mean? And very, God bless them, the ones that, if Meryl Streep said at 16, I'm going to be an actress, you would go, fuck yeah. Because yeah, I'll watch everything you do. So anyway, I enjoy being a teacher. I enjoy doing the pottery. And, it's the kind of activity. To give you an example, I have an audition that I have to work on. There's a Sanford Meisner. Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg were two old teachers, well-respected, known teachers. But Sanford Meisner was a teacher who said, so that you don't laden the dialogue, you don't create something artificial, that there's always when you're rehearsing or you're doing dialogue, to connect it with an activity. And so, I'll have an audition I got to work on. I'll wash the dishes. I'll vacuum. I'll sit on the couch, and I'll turn on the TV, I remember a line. It's my own haphazard way, but I try and connect it to an activity. It's impossible with pottery to do that. I have my own little mini studio set up downstairs in my basement, but it's not like, you know what? Let me throw a couple of bulls on the wheel while I rehearse my dialogue.
Yeah.
Can't be done, you
Yeah.
know.
Unless
So
you're auditioning for Ghost.
it's oh, there's another trigger. You know, where I joke that I'm downstairs on my pottery wheel, and you know, specifically in Ghost, you know, when it's long like that, that's called coning. That's center piece of that's called coning, and that's a critical time to make sure that, because if you don't center a piece of clay on the wheel, you're
everywhere.
You're riding a bicycle with like half the spokes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I joke, you know, if I was more, socially tech savvy, I'd fucking post it, but you know, and have my wife come up behind me, you know, and want to have sex, and I'm going, what are you doing? I can't have sex now. I'm coning, for Christ's sake. I'm at a critical state. I'm a mess too. You know what play could do if it touches parts of the body? I have this whole bit where you're going, this isn't going to happen. And, you know, to me, it's a, you know, and also there's the sort of the Italian brain where it says, oh, I like dirty sex, but this is dirty sex. It's like, no. Just like I thought, to me, it's never been sexy.
No.
Film and television where they have sex in a bathroom. Going, why would you? You know, I'll do a Sebastian Manisqualco for you. Going, why would you do that?
It's highly unsanitary.
Right? You're going, no, that's wrong. So with the pottery, you know, like the ghost thing going.
Yeah.
And then I've seen it in it again and going, she's not even wearing an apron. Wear an apron, for God's sake. You get out, you know, what are you? You're not that good. So, you know, it's like, I think to myself, Mikey, take it easy. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So and you know, just because again, it's a laziness and a lot of shitload of work. I do sell my work now.
Good.
If I knew how to do it better, I would, and I will. But it's one of those, you know, I'm thinking, how do I parlay my lazy pottery making, even though I make beautiful pieces, where I think, oh, well, there's a limited supply. It's Michael's boutique pottery supply, you know, going right, because, you know, teaching, I run into a lot of they're called production potters, where they just keep fucking making shit and going to shows and you know, fiddly bits, and you know, half, you know, we going, you know, yeah, your mugs are nice, but your handles suck, you know, and I'm like, I'm too old to do that. I'd rather make beautiful pieces. I make functional, I make non-functional, and I think one of the keys would be, you know, let me find the money. Let me see where the money is, rather than, you know, put my stuff out and see if the money attracts to me. So, you know, probably more information than you care to know, but it's one of those things that, you know, I get I've got like, I don't know, 500-600 Facebook friends. I get a lot of love, you know, and you know, I believe them. You know, they're gorgeous. A lot of them have bought my work. A lot of them have bought my work for others, so that kind of says something. You know, so yeah, I try and support the artists when they try and do fundraisers. You know, for their silent auctions kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll certainly offer a piece that's hopefully substantial enough to get them a few bucks. So it's the kind of thing that I'm grateful for, I do laugh with myself, and when the epiphany of, you know, wanting to become an actor, because it really was in high school. I was really um, very unsatisfied with my course curriculum, even though I chose it. And I went, okay, like I think if I wasn't an actor, I would have gone into some kind of English and literature. I just love history. But I literally went through the course calendar, the course curriculum of the high school, and it went theater arts. And I went, oh my God, that's it.
Hmm.
It was very visceral. I would have been, um, would have been a little more like Giancarlo Giannini when he was asked why he became an actor, and he went, for the money and the girls. And I'm like, well, I definitely got into it for the girls.
Yeah.
And I joke with myself because to me, and I think that's rather charming. Where I'm going, oh, that's how I'll make my millions. I'll be an actor,
Yeah.
right? And it's like I love to do it. It's okay. I'm not kind of, but I still enjoy it. And then I joked when I went, of course, pottery. That's how I'll make my millions.
Yeah.
Because they're and I've got so much pottery and people I follow and see on Facebook and Instagram and all those things that it's almost pornographic. I call it pottery porn.
Yeah.
And I look at some of the most exquisite work, and you go, will I be able to live long enough to possibly get close to this? Because that's what I aspire to. Where they call them museum pieces, which means, if I can make a beautiful enough bowl that sits as a centerpiece in your table, that's a museum piece, that, or, the drag is that pottery competes with painting, is that, well, well, my work is better than paintings. You can actually not only look at my work, you could use my work. Like, you can take the lid off this and put something in it. So I joke about that. It's like, yeah, but it's got to have horizontal space, and then you, then it becomes the same as, painting where you go, um, I I make things hoping that people like them rather than what's trending. Like I think
Yeah.
I I think I've made in 12 years I've made like 4 mugs. I don't want to make mugs.
Yeah.
But I know how to teach them how to make a mug and a handle, but I don't want to make mugs. I don't want to make mugs for others. I don't want to make mugs for myself. That could change, but I don't want to make them. So you
Hmm.
find you find what you like to do, and then decide whether people like it for their home or for which or for almost even better that they think it's worthy of giving it to someone else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I get a lot of love from my work, and I'm glad it's there because this whole the irony of what's going on out there with streaming and shooting, and
Yeah.
Canada's a bit of a not Canada's a bit Toronto's a bit of a mess with the Americans taking over. Everything else is the smaller stuff is relegated to the Canadians. I also blame the Canadian industry for not creating one really,
Yeah.
you know, when they should have. We have an incredible pool of talent from top to bottom, from cast and crews to services and the whole 9 yards. I think the Americans. That's why the Americans come here. We give them an incredible tax breaks, and and then you can set aside all that bullshit and go $1.70. Why wouldn't they come? Of
Hmm.
course, they come. That's just smart, uh, business dealings. And so it just seems to change, more and more. It's a very fickle business. Um, Writers are now mandated not to write too many lines for the actors. The parts shouldn't be any bigger than this amount of days. Um, you know, um, Independent tax credits between provinces, which means, and hey, listen, if a producer wants to use me, I think ultimately he'll use me. But there's always that little nugget in there that you're going, oh well, we're shooting in British Columbia. He's from Ontario. We really want him, but we get the tax credit if we decide we want to pick number two. Okay, let's go with number two. So
Yep.
and with all that I've said, I know it sounds a bit harsh. Try not to be. I'm not bitter. I'm just trying to keep up, trying to figure out. I still audition. They're not as often. No Country for Old Men sometimes. We got nothing to say. The older folks, we got nothing to say anymore. So, I don't know why. But, I'm still committed. And just see what happens. I'm glad for the pottery because it does generate an income, both sales, teaching, and nothing like like I'm now 66, but there was nothing like turning 65 because you're going, a little bit of that pension coming in, got a little bit of that residual check coming in, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. My wife, myself, and my daughter, we have a good lifestyle. We have an austere lifestyle. We don't spend, we spend all that we make, not more than we make.
Mm-hmm.
We like our life. It's enjoyable. If anything, we just go, holy shit, like people are dying everywhere around us, man. Like there isn't anybody my age that goes, oh, he was like younger than I was, or he was only 2 years older than I was, or she's gone. You know what I mean? It becomes it's a very existential where you're going, hey man, easy on the brass ring. Was there ever one? The carrot. You're going, I just want to do good work, earn a living, pay me fairly. I'll give you a good product. And and the evils of other men while they're pissing on all of us.
Yeah.
Not just the entertainment industry.
No, everybody.
Going, why?
Yeah.
Why? So didn't mean to slide.
Oh no, it's okay.
On that one, man.
I think we agree.
Yeah. It's just we're all trying to make our way, aren't we? We're all just trying to make our way. We creatives, we want to be creative. We it keeps me alive. You know what I mean? Like I I can do straight jobs, but I'd be the first one to tell an employer going, unless it's creative, you don't really want me here that long. Like, you don't want me to do your data entry for more than a while, just stuff like that. And there's other people that are happy doing that. I just think, no, I couldn't do it. And also, in honor of my dad and my mom, they came to this country. I joke with them because, my mom, whenever she'd lose an argument, she'd go, we came to this country to give you a better life. And I said, that would have been great, Ma, but I wasn't born when you got here. But, and I have told them, it's, not ironic, that it was a good life. They did give me a good life. would it have been a good life in Italy? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, my dad was a candy maker
Hmm.
while he was here in Toronto. Man, he made my life sweet. So did my mom. I was very grateful that they were immigrants that were very committed to a new life, a new world. My dad, they both read, wrote, and spoke English. Uh,
Hmm.
became Canadian citizens the day after they were allowed to, be. So I'm grateful for for all that had happened. So that
Yeah.
was that was wonderful.
So before we wrap up,
Sure.
Michael, do you have any upcoming projects that you'd like to promote?
I don't know if there's, you know, there. I had a couple of days on a film called Wisteria, and it was the director's first film. Not a great
Mhm.
film, charming. I was good.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, I say that tongue in cheek, but it's like, after 40 years, if I can't tell myself I was good, then I should be doing something else. you know, uh, so it's called Wisteria.
Yeah.
Again, it was a wonderful first effort from the director. If it's
Are you
around, I
okay?
don't think it's been released yet. Oh, sorry. Actually, those are with Melissa D'Agostino at Highball TV.
Mhm.
I worked with her a number of years ago. Her and her husband, they've created Highball TV. They bucked the Canadian system like crazy. Everybody said no to them, so they said,
Mhm.
"Fine, we'll do it ourselves." So the only reason I mentioned this, that I didn't mention this, is that we shot it 2 summers ago,
Oh, okay.
and so it was
Yeah.
it was just something I was in. Um, so sorry, out of sight, out of mind. It was like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and and I saw one of their posts lately that they're working on the animation. I know they were going to do, I think, some rotoscope as well. So a lot of work involved. I don't know why it's taken so long. None of my business. You know,
Mhm.
I think but in between that, they just keep making stuff, and it's great. They're amazing people at Highball TV. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I didn't get to meet them.
Yeah.
It was just me and blue screen for
Oh,
the,
cool.
for the whole day. So but I have every faith in these guys putting out
Yeah.
great work. You know.
All right. Well,
I've got
thank
uh, I've got
yeah.
one final question before
Okay.
we
Sure.
sign off.
Yes.
Picture it, 1986.
Okay.
You're on the set of Psycho Girls.
Okay.
Does the thought ever cross your mind that in 40 years you'll be talking to two complete fucking nerds like us about it?
Well, the short answer is no. But I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
I've been sort of like vibrating and going, you believe this? 40 years later, somebody
Yep.
wants to talk to me about something I made.
Yeah.
Terrific. So, no, I'm, I've had a great time. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm glad
We
you
have
did.
too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask about the cat.
The cat.
Oh, I did want
Oh,
to say hi to the cat. Yeah.
oh, sorry. She was supposed to behave. Sorry about that. But,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
no,
okay.
we
you
all
know.
the more the cats, the better.
All right, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk with us.
My pleasure.
Uh, well, I
Thank you.
can't believe that Psycho Girls is 40 years old. That's crazy.
I
I
know, right?
mean, yeah.
I know.
Um, it's wild to think about. It's been a pleasure to have you here, though, like
Likewise.
from the
Thank you
bottom of our
so much.
heart.
Hope I
And
didn't
you're,
hope I didn't diverge too far, but that's just
oh,
my OCD/ADD. So
That was great.
yeah,
thank
that's the way we are too. Like the episode that we've got coming out tomorrow, we've got a guy that we know with us. It's the first three host show that we're doing,
right?
and the two of us go off on tangents talking about how we can't whistle and showing our tooth gaps to the camera and all that. And the other guy's just sitting there going, what are these guys doing? But that's what we do too. So we get you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Phew.
Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, all the best to you, all the success.
Likewise.
And thank you once again. Be well.
Thank you so much.
All right, you too.
Now, folks who are watching the video, you can subscribe to us by hitting the subscribe button at the bottom of the channel. You can subscribe to Jeff's channel and my channel at exactly the same time. Takes you 1 second, costs you $0, and you can subscribe to as many people as you want. It doesn't cost any money, and you can check out all the other crazy bullshit that we get up to on our channels. And Jeff, do you want to hold up your book too that you've been pushing? Jeff writes books.
Cool.
Yeah. I've read this one too. It's very good.
There it is. Satanican. Message me. I'll sign it and I'll whatever.
But not in Canada.
Copies.
Not in
Terrific.
Canada though, because it costs
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much
if
money
you're
to
in
ship up
Canada,
here.
you have to go on
you're
Amazon.
going to have to put in a second mortgage. One of us will.
Yeah, exactly. Friggin' tariff man.
I know.
All right. So thanks everybody. And we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.